People have been asking me to cover the amazing world of Gumball Infection AU, aka the Joy Infection animation created by the YouTube channel Ali's Originals. In this video, I'll explain what's actually happening in each of the animations, how the infection started, and what the likely outcome will be based on the information that we have thus far. Infection. The same concept is actually present in the Infection UI. But before we get too deep, let me actually explain how the Joy virus came to be into his son. But as the saying goes, all things should be consumed in moderation, even love and joy. And in this instance, there is too much joy to contain, so when Gumball goes to school, he is so loud and happy that he ends up getting kicked out of class and ends up in the room with the nurse and the principal. And while there, they are actually trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and he bites the principal, infecting him with the Joy virus. And the principal's transformation is actually kind of creepy. Now, Darwin and Anais end up escaping the initial chaos, and that is actually how we get to the events of episode 1. And here's where we see Darwin and Anais walking through the school, and something that I found interesting is that Darwin still doesn't actually believe that the situation is as bad as it is.
Like, come on, it's just a hug from Dad.
And look what the hug caused. Do you not see the damage? This is serious. You already seen there's other students here that can't be affected. And we don't know what more damage it can do. So we have to get out of here immediately, Darwin.
He doesn't realize the power that his father's hug had in it, and that his brother Gumball is now just another victim of the virus. While Anais went into survival mode almost immediately, even being willing to leave her brother behind to make sure that they survived, which as a viewer, we know it's the right choice because we've already seen Gumball transform into a monster. Now, understandable, Darwin is sad about having to leave his brother behind because the two of them are actually really close. But that moment of hesitation allows Darwin to be placed in a bad situation.
Please go. Save yourself.
And the first episode ends with Anais having to abandon another brother to make sure that she can survive. Now, when we get over to episode 2, the tone is completely different at first. It starts with Richard actually sleeping on the couch and Nicole coming home, wondering where the children are. And technically, it's only 5 o'clock right now, so it isn't that weird for kids to kind of hang out for a few hours after school, so the parents don't freak out too much. Yet. Now, after that scene, we're taken back to the school where we see Anais has started writing a diary where she's keeping track of all the people who've been affected so far. And a few things actually stood out for me. It seems that some of the affected actually became faster as the infection spread through their bodies, and I assume that this is to help them actually catch and infect more people. We also noticed that characters at stage 1 and 2 of the infection still have like some of their mind, and this is why Banana Joe was crying and asking for help, saying that he can't stop smiling.
It hurts to smile. There is no hope. Please help me. I can't stop smiling. 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 I can't stop smiling.
And even though Anais has been really tough thus far, we finally see her break down when writing about Darwin missing and also possibly being killed by his brother Gumball.
No, wait, I'm not affected.
In the cutscene, we also see Anais meet up with this little cactus character who I believe is named Carmen, and two things stood out for me there. The first is that her mask has a smiley face on it, and this is to help her blend in with the infected characters since they all can't stop smiling. The other thing that stood out is how quickly Anais was ready to engage in violence, which funny enough is what was recommended in an analog horror video that Ali made as well.
If you encounter an infected person, you could run, but your best option is to protect yourself and prepare to fight. Consider gathering necessary weapons, and don't stop until they are no longer moving. Stay vigilant and ready. If you got infected, be prepared to separate yourself and accept your fate.
Now, after that scene, we see that Anais takes Carmen to a room where she has been doing research on what is happening with all the infected characters. I think that once both of her brothers got infected, Anais no longer simply wanted to escape the school, but actually find a way to cure this infection so that she can possibly save her brothers and as many other students as she can, which also kind of explains why she was so willing to help Carmen. Now, outside of the school, Richard and Nicole have been searching for their children for hours, and eventually they decided to go to the school to see if they were still there. And as they started searching, some of the infected actually tried to rush them, which ended very badly for those kids.
Look out!
Huh?
Nicole, do something! Nicole, stop!
I didn't mean to go this far.
I guess now we know where Anais gets her fighting spirit from. Because we're being honest, the mom is definitely about that action. And I suppose that all the noise in the hallway actually ends up getting the attention of Anais, which triggers this scene.
Anais, what are you doing?
Just hang on tight, okay?
Whatever it is, do it fast!
In which Anais takes out 2 zombies before reuniting with her parents. And of course they ask her where her brothers are, which her only response is tears, reminding us that even though she is tough, she is still just a little girl in a building full of monsters. The episode ends with a large elongated arm moving around outside the door, and I assume that it belongs to the principal because his body did get long and lanky after he was infected. Now in episode 3, we get a glimpse into just how dangerous these zombies can be when we actually see the principal do this. Basically showing us that unless you truly destroy the bodies of these zombies, another one can just come and inject some joy into them and they'll come back to life, making these zombies very hard to deal with, considering that most of them are children and a decent person isn't going to be willing to really damage them. But I'm just saying, if it was me, I'd be walking up on these kids like, now, as of what I think is going to happen next, I believe that Miss Hope solved this. I also see a lot of people saying that they think that Darwin survived or is like immune to the infection, but I don't think that this is actually going to be true. In the original episode, Darwin was definitely able to be infected, and if I remember correctly, he was one of the first people to be infected right along with Gumball. But it would be a cool little twist if in this version he was immune, because just because this AU is like inspired by that episode doesn't mean that it has to follow it to a T. But if it does follow it, I think this series is going to have a very sad ending, because if I remember correctly, they didn't actually end up beating the joy infection. They ended up all being infected. So I'm actually really excited to see what Allie does in these future episodes. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, you can watch the original over at Allie's channel here, or you can check out this video that YouTube recommended for you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe today, become a member of the Orse Force, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.